Well, good morning and welcome to this time at the beginning of the day. We will gather at 9 o'clock every day during Advent with the exception of Sundays. My name is Pam Smith and it's my deep honor to serve the people of Grace Evangelical Lutheran Church in Lakeland as their pastor. During this time of Advent, it's one of the traditions of the church that we set aside maybe some special devotional time or devotional activity. And these mornings times of daily devotions may be that for you. A couple of things. I will do this live stream from whatever location I happen to be in. Mondays are my day off, so I am here at home. And what that means is that Sadie may make her appearance as well. I hope that that isn't too much of a distraction to you, as it may be to me, to be honest. So during our daily devotion time, we're going to be looking at this book, this devotional guide, Birthing God, a resource. I'm sorry, I was reading it backwards. A resource for Advent. It is a daily devotional guide that is written by my friend Liz Crumlish, who's a Scottish Episcopal priest who serves in Scotland. She's taken a few brief devotions every day, many of which are focused upon the women who are found in the genealogy of Jesus as it is recorded in Matthew. Now, a couple of things as we get started. First of all, I commend to you the reading of that genealogy in the first chapter of Matthew. It's a long list of the begats, but at the bottom of that you'll find some interesting description of how that genealogy is laid out. Also, I hope to have a hard copy of that genealogy with some notes and some observations posted to our website, to the church website, gracelakeland.com. That will happen a little bit later this week. Also, there are 4 women in that genealogy that we're particularly going to look at: Tamar, Rahab, Ruth, and Bathsheba. The description of those women and their biblical accounts is often found in the devotional guide for Sundays. And since we are not meeting on Sundays, our devotional time on Monday may be just a little bit longer because I want to include the story of those particular women, each in their turn. So I hope that you are in a comfortable spot, that maybe you have a piece of paper to jot down some notes in as thoughts from the Spirit occur to you. I have a lit candle that doesn't quite show up on the screen given the layout that we have here. And I've got a cup of coffee. And tomorrow I'm going to have my Christmas mugs with me as well. So we will begin then, and let us begin with a word of prayer. We give you thanks, Lord, for this season of Advent. We give you thanks that you come to us in human flesh while still being the divine God that you are. We ask that you be present with us and that through the power of your Holy Spirit, you bring new things to our awareness, that you touch our spirit in a special way, and that you embrace us with your love and grace. In the name of Jesus, amen. So, of course, my voice, as I said yesterday at church, I am now a full-throated tenor. I have come down with something. I don't feel horrible, but I don't sound particularly good. And so it's my prayer that that will change over the coming days. So let me begin with this brief poem by Pastor Liz. It's on page 4 of the book if you are following along. It's called An Untidy Advent. Journeying through Advent, we look for perfection, for everything done and dusted, the I's dotted and the T's crossed, everything wrapped up and beautifully finished off, because it's all in the presentation. But you are so untidy, God. You send a baby who grins and soils, needs fed and changed, who kicks off the covers and won't lie still. And you ask us to care for this baby God. We can't do that in our best clothes, in our pristine homes, because babies bring mess and chaos and noise and upheaval. They don't fit into the orderly lives. God, give us the ability to tear up our schedules, to give you our tidiness, and allow you, playful God, to muss our hair, crumple our clothes. And as we learn to care for you, may we also care for each other in all our untidiness. Advent need not be stoked in perfection. It need not be perfectly observed. It is a time for God to enter into our lives as we make room. So let us then begin our first week in Advent. And the story that the woman that is being looked at in this week, at least for the first few days of this week, is one who may not be familiar to us. Her name is Tamar. And let me tell you the story of Tamar. And this, like some of the Old Testament stories, can be a little bit confusing. So let me attempt to simplify this. And you will want to find this story in Genesis 38. You can read the story there. And I'm going to give some background to that story as well. So as we think about the forebears of the past, we think about Abraham and Sarah, of course. And then there is also Abraham and Hagar. Abraham had two sons, one with Hagar, and that son's name was Ishmael. And he had one with Sarah, and that one's name is Isaac. And it is through Isaac that we trace kind of the genealogy that we're looking at today. Isaac married Rebekah, and they had two sons, Jacob and Esau. And there's all sorts of drama in the story of those two sons, those two brothers, those two fraternal twins, Jacob and Esau. Jacob, though, again, through whom we follow the story, had 12 sons. He had them with 4 women, 2 of whom were his wives and 2 were concubines. I suppose that discussion can wait for another day. But these are the 12 sons of Jacob in their birth order: Reuben, Simeon, Levi, Judah, Dan, Naphtali, Gad, Asher, Issachar, Zebulun, Joseph, and Benjamin. Each of these sons is the patriarch in one of the tribes, the 12 tribes of Israel. The story of Tamar comes down through the 4th-born son, Judah. And here is a summary of that story. Judah was married to Shua, his wife, and they had 3 sons, and this is the birth order for those. Er was first, Onam was second, and Shelah was third. The firstborn son was Erah, and he was married to Tamar. He took Tamar as his wife. The scriptures tell us that was wicked in the sight of God, and the time came when he died. They did not have any children. And so it was that Judah, Tamar's father-in-law, told her that she would be given to his second-born son, Onam. This was a common practice in the history of the ancients. It was a way to protect women because a woman had no status except through the man or the men in her life. And indeed, a woman's primary task was to produce an heir for her husband. So it was that Tamar became the levirate, Levirate, the levirate wife of Onam. Onam, or pardon me, I'm saying Onam. Yep, that's right. Now, I thought it might be pronounced a different way. Unfortunately, Onam died before he could produce a son, and so Tamar was once again left on her own as a widow with no standing at that time. The third son, Shelah, was not old enough yet to be given in marriage to Tamar, and so Judah said to Tamar, "Come and live in my house as a widow." And she became part then of Judah's household. Now the requirements for that, of course, were that she would maintain her status as a widow, which was a very meager status, and that she would remain chaste. That is, that she would not have sex with any other man, even though having a son was what all aspired to. The day came when Judah, after some years, the scriptures don't tell us how long, Judah was going to go off with a friend to the place of sheep shearing, which I think is code name for a party, boys' night out or boys' weekend away. Tamar had remained in the household, but again had not been given in marriage to Shelah, who had now come of age, but Judah did not fulfill his promise. So knowing that Judah was going to be going away, Tamar took off her widow's clothing, put on regular clothing and a shawl or a scarf, and went and sat alongside the road that she knew Judah would be passing by on. Judah saw her and took her as a cultic prostitute and struck a deal with her for her services. He agreed to give her one baby goat, in exchange for his time with her, but he didn't have the goat with him. So he said to Tamar, not knowing it was Tamar because her face was covered, and said to her, "What shall we do?" And Tamar said, "Well, give me your signet ring and your staff and the cord around your waist, and I will hold these as credit until you can bring me the goat." And so Judah went in to Tamar. After they parted and he went on his way, Tamar returned home and put on her widow's clothing again. And lo and behold, she became pregnant. Well, Judah came home, saw that she was pregnant, and having tried to deliver the baby goat to some place along the road and not finding the woman there, he was perplexed and decided that she, whoever that was, wink wink, could keep the ring and the staff and the cord. So back at home, Tamar, finding that she was pregnant, needed to announce this to Judah. She did, and Judah was outraged, of course, because part of her deal for being kept in his household was that she would remain chaste, and obviously she had had sex with another man. Judah was outraged, and in his outrage said, "Who on earth could have done this?" And she offered then the signs, the signet ring, the cord, and the staff. And she said, "It's the owner of these things who made me pregnant." And Judah recognized them as his own, of course, and then said, "This woman is more righteous than I." So as the pregnancy went forward, things maintained however they would in the household. And as it turns out, Tamar gave birth to twins. I don't find the names. Perez is one of them, and there is a second twin. Of course, their birth fraternal twins, as it were. Their birth is reminiscent of the birth of Jacob and Esau. Now, there are many other aspects of this that we could take a look at, but we're not going to do that today. We can dive into them later. You may want to do some Google search. But I think for our purposes today, what is sufficient is to see that this was a woman who was on the fringe of society because she didn't have a husband and she didn't have sons. And so we're asked to consider then, who is it who's on the fringe of our society? Who is it that escapes our notice? Who is it that we give short shrift to? So hear these words then. From Genesis 38, verse 11. Judah said to his daughter-in-law Tamar, "Remain a widow in your father's house until my son Shelah grows up." For he feared that he too would die like his brothers. So Tamar went to live in her father's house. In the course of time, the wife of Judah, Shua, died. And when Judah's time of mourning was over, he went up to Timnah to his sheep shearers, he and his friend Hira the Adullamite. When Tamar was told, "Your father-in-law is going to Timnah to shear his sheep," she put off her widow's garments, put on a veil, wrapped herself up, and sat down at the entrance to Enam, which is on the road to Timnah. She saw that Shelah was grown up, yet she had not been given him in marriage. So Tamar came up with a plan to address and to solve the problem that she had because she was on the fringe. Hear these words. Subversive women. Those who underestimate women are sure to be called to account. For women know the ways of subversion, the ways of subtlety, that are not always noticed or recognized, far less accorded the power that they hold. In a world seemingly obsessed with aggressive confrontation, subtle subversion is often overlooked. Rather, the powerful results speak for themselves, and women who have, through necessity, learned how to subvert power and quietly manifest change, create and sustain movements that gather momentum, piece by hard-won piece, changing the course of history, supplanting fear with love and threat with collaboration, reestablishing justice for all of creation. And so as we ponder this woman, this widow, this mother, Tamar, this daughter-in-law, we think about her role in the genealogy of Jesus. I invite you to give that some thought this day. And may we close now in prayer. In every place where the demands of the powerful prevail, while the weak and vulnerable struggle to be heard, you are present, Almighty God. In every place where injustice props up the rich, while the poor work quietly for justice, you are present, Almighty God. In every place where fear calls loudly, while hope is persistently whispered, you are present, Almighty God. You are present, strengthening the arm of the weak, upholding the efforts of the poor, demolishing all that stands in the way of love. May we stand with you, Almighty God. Amen. And so our time has come to a close. Again, this is a little longer than we will normally be doing because of telling the story of Tamar. In Sundays going forward, I will attempt to have a summary of that story posted on the webpage or elsewhere on Facebook if I can figure out the technicalities of that. So go on your way. Have a blessed first Monday of Advent. Bye now.